Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to start the Retire On series. Now basically this is just going to be a series where we look at an investment, look at how much we'd have to have in it in order to make $60,000 a year. Now I got that $60,000 a year by looking up the latest, and SoFi presents it as 66,000 a year is the average annual salary per the Social Security Administration. Now that's just based on the US, and if you look other places you're going to find different amounts, but I think taking it at 60K gives us a reasonable number to work with, a nice round number, which is $5,000 a month. Now we will look at various investments in this series, and basically all we're asking ourselves is, if we wanted to retire off this investment, how much would we need invested off that asset? Today we're doing Msty. Now for those you don't know, Msty is a fund by yieldmax. It's based on MicroStrategy, so it is a single stock ETF. Now I do need to say right off the bat, this is not financial advice. This is for education, entertainment purposes only, and you should never invest in just one asset like this. You should always diversify. I don't care what people tell you, you need to diversify. Now, just to get it out there, I do own this asset. I do have Msty in our portfolio. Now, with that out of the way, let's get started with the video. So, the Retire On series is based to make 60 grand a year. That's the theory. That's 5K a month. Now, with different investments, you're going to have different scales. They pay a certain amount of times per year. Some are weekly. Some pay rotationally, like the yieldmax ones, where they do 13 payments in a year instead of the 12. There's 52 weeks in a year. If something pays every 4 weeks, that's 13 payments. So we're going to run into that today as we review Msty. Now, at the time of recording this video, Msty is at $17.10 for its share price. Now, mind you, that is going to vary wildly. This video may age well, it may not. We do have to accept this as a depreciating asset. You can go ahead and look at the dividends that it's paid, and that will show you that as the share price goes downhill, so do the dividends. When they go uphill, the dividends usually follow. Now, the lowest dividend that's been paid out so far by Msty is $1.18. I should reference that at the time of recording this video, I'm guessing our next payment's going to be lower. But we will talk about reinvestment at the end of this video, and I will give you my ideas of how much I would reinvest, what that's going to cost you in order to prop up the total and make sure you continue getting this amount of money. So, let's crack in with the math first off. All right, so we know we want 60K a year, we want $60,000. And yieldmax, with these funds like Msty, they're on a rotational 4-week cycle. So they actually pay 13 times a year because they pay every 4 weeks, and that makes 13 cycles, okay? Because there's 52 weeks in a year. You just do the math, but you'll see it. There's Group A, Group B, Group C, Group D, and then they have their weeklies. So we know that we're getting paid 13 times a year. We need to take that into account. So if we take $60,000 divided by 13, we need to make $4,615 a month. Now, mind you, that's rounded. All these measurements and numbers I'm going to give you now are going to be rounded just for ease. Now, if we need $4,615 a payment, every 13 payments a year, then we need to take $4,615 and divide that by the lowest dividend, which is $1.18 currently. Now, what that's going to give us is the amount of shares we need, because we need to get that much every pay cycle. That gives you 3,911 shares. All right, that's how many shares you need to collect your 60 grand essentially. Okay, so we have 3,911 shares we need, and then we times that by the share price currently, which is $17.10. That's going to give us $66,878. That's what it's going to cost us. So let's round that to 67 just to make the numbers easy. So to get 60 grand a year from Msty, you would need $67,000 invested. You would need 3,911 shares. Now, remember, I said this is a depreciating asset, which means generally speaking, over time, it will go down the hill. And then the distributions that it pays will go with it, especially in covered call funds. Now, we want to make sure we buffer that total up. We want to make sure we're reinvesting a little bit at least to prop that price up, to make sure we're getting those dividends. Now, at the way Msty is currently performing, and obviously during different times you could probably move this amount you reinvest up or down based on how it's performing. Okay, so we know we have 13 payments, and we basically are making $4,615 per payment. Then we need to look at it like, how much do we want to reinvest? And my answer to that right now would be 10%. Now, 10% would be somewhere around $461.50. All right, so actually under $500. So when you do that over 13 payments in a year, you're going to have $4,153.50 that you're reinvesting into Msty to prop up the NAV, to help prop up those distributions. Now, what will that leave you a year afterwards? Now, mind you, this doesn't have anything to do with taxes. Everybody's tax situation is different, so I'm not even going to try and go over that. All right, the first thing everybody says is, what about taxes? But guys, I can't tell you what your tax situation is, and I can't advise you on taxes because I'm not your tax attorney or your tax accountant or your tax preparer. So this is pre-tax, all this. So yearly, your take home after that 10% reinvestment would be $53,995.50. All right, we can do some pretty basic rounding there and say you take home $54,000 off of a $67,000 investment. Now, the point of the reinvestment is to prop this up, because you cannot have that high yield and end up not having depreciation over time. That's just not going to happen. If you go look at the numbers, Msty from yieldmax has already paid over 200% of its initial breakout price, what it originally was listed for the day it came out. So it's pretty clear that this thing is a cash cow, but you should never trust one investment to retire off of. The reality, though, of putting $67,000 in this investment, and even after your reinvestment to help prop it up, you come home with $54,000. If you'd asked 5 years ago, people would have said that was impossible, that it just would not happen. There is literally no legal way. It is a Ponzi scheme. I think we've all seen with the rise of the covered call and option-based investments out there, it very well is possible. Now, do I believe that Msty is going to go down over time? Of course. Do I believe that the reinvestment will hold it up? That depends on how much and how fast Msty falls. Now, I do believe that you could tweak this number pretty easily. I myself would just do a $500 for every one of the 13 payments. I would just reinvest that amount and make it that round number, and then watch your distributions. If they start to go down too much, more than 1 or 2 months, then it's time to start reinvesting more. Now, we will do this kind of thing on a bunch of different funds. I will lay out different plans, and we will put together matched funds in the long term, where say you took Msty here and put it with like something from Neos, like SPYI, and did a 50-50 and see how that would turn out. I think you guys are going to really enjoy some of the videos I have coming up on these. I don't know that I have a complete list of what I want to put out yet. So if you guys have a recommendation you'd like to see put on the Retire series, let me know down in the comments. Let me know what stocks, ETFs you'd like to see done on this, and I will try to get to it. And with that said, if you haven't already, I don't know why you wouldn't have, go down, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you see all of our upcoming videos, and I'll see you in the next one.